everybody. Welcome back to the Standard 81 podcast. My name is Sincere, and we are back again with another episode. But before we get into this any further, let's go ahead and take a quick 30-second break. And I'll be back with you here in 3, 2, and we are back. Okay, so everybody, you see the thumbnail, you see the title. Marriage is not the answer. Marriage is not the answer. But before I go into this any further, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. And comment down below. Let me know what you think about the material. And if you really feel like this message is really something that you want to have out there, share with somebody you know who needs it, or any other videos that you have heard from me. Share it. Share the wealth. Share the love. Anyways, let's get into this. Marriage is not the answer. And I know what you're about to say. You're like, whoa, wait a minute, Sincere, what are you talking about? All of a sudden, marriage is not the answer? No, it isn't. Marriage is not the answer. Not if you don't understand what marriage is. Not if you don't understand the commitment behind marriage. Marriage is not the answer. See, people keep on trying to find answers on how we get society back in order, how we get everything back in alignment. And for a lot of people, they keep on saying we need to build families, we need to build, we need to hold on to traditional values such as marriage and building families and stuff like that, which I agree with 100%. But if you don't understand the concept behind these institutions, it's not the answer. Because what you're going to wind up having is more of what you have now, which is people believing that once you implement these particular institutions or these particular procedures, that everything is magically going to be better. And that's what I am finding. And you know I'm a relationship channel, so I'm gonna turn this on into a relationship. I hear a lot of relationship channels on YouTube, TikTok, anywhere where there's social media or where they talk about this stuff. They are now beginning to say marriage is the answer. Don't marry before you carry and all this good stuff, which I 100% agree with. But here's the problem. Most of us don't even understand the institution of marriage, right? We see marriage as a conclusion to something or an end goal, but not as an institution or a commitment, right? So in order for you to really understand why marriage is so important, you got to first understand what marriage is. So let's look that word up. And I've already got it pulled up here on my handy dandy phone. I use the Webster's Dictionary definitions when I go over these definitions, because you know that I am into finding out the definition of something. When you understand the word and its meaning, you can better implement it. So, according to the Webster's Dictionary, here's what it means: the state of being united as a spouse in a consensual and contractual relationships recognized by the law. I'm sorry, I kept on reading the wrong word. So let me read that one more time. A state of being united with a spouse in a consensual and contractual relationship recognized by law. And then the other definition is a union, a close union, or an intimate union. Okay? So those are the definitions. That is the definition of the word marriage. You say, why is that even relevant? Because now you understand what the word means. Let's look at it again. Right? The word in and of itself kind of spells out the whole thing. Marriage is to be united. That means coming together in a consensual and contractual relationship recognized by law. Now, when you live in a society that says marriage is just a piece of paper, or marriage ain't that big of a deal, then okay, that's cool. Then why do you want to be in relationships? Why do you want to be recognized within the world to have which brings me to that third definition, a close and intimate union with each other? Why do you want to be recognized in the world with that, as that? How come you want the person you're with to see you that way? Because deep down in our minds, we already know that we want the union. Is just something that is holding us back. But if you go into it with these idealistic ideas of, oh, once I get married, everything will be peaches and cream. If you go into it with this idea that I'm going to get out of the marriage what I can get, and I'm not worried about the other person, then you're doomed to fail. Think about any other relationship you have in life, right? You don't expect those relationships to evolve overnight. So how come it is when it comes to the idea of marriage, we figure that once we sign that piece of paper that says we are now legally tied to each other in an intimate union and in a close union, everything is supposed to change. It's supposed to be all magical. In that sense, it is just a piece of paper. But your union is now something you have to work on. The relationship is being recognized for legal purposes. But that union, that intimacy, that closeness you want has to be worked on. The chase has to still be there. The pursuit, the dating, all that has to be there. This is why I am beginning to think you shouldn't really start dating until after you get married. You're like, this sounds insane. What are you even talking about? Well, if you want to take the concept of dating in and of itself, and we talked about this the last time I was on did a video, the difference between dating and marriage. The word dating in and of itself just means to be available for a time and a place to meet with somebody. So here's what I think should be happening. If you are in the dating phase, you shouldn't be worried about the intimate details. Meaning, you shouldn't be worried about hooking up together. You shouldn't be worried about living together. You shouldn't be worried about none of that. You should be discussing questions that are going to affect your relationship moving forward. Such as, what do you believe in? What do you stand for as far as what's your view on children? Do you want children? What are your goals that you have in mind as far as family unit? Are you close with your parents? What do your parents believe? Can I meet your parents? Can you meet my parents? These are the things that we should be asking, as opposed to, what's your favorite color? What do you like to do? And I know you say, Sincere, we know this. We know this. We know this. Yeah, it's being said, but none of it is being implemented. See, here's what I'm here to say. No, marriage is not the answer. But being in a relationship ain't the answer either. If you are not ready for marriage, then you ain't ready for a relationship. My own opinion. Because it's not meant for us to be emotionally and intimately tied to everybody we decide to date. That's the problem. We want to be emotionally and mentally and physically connected to wind up being emotionally, mentally, and physically connected to everybody we date. And then we build all this trauma and drama in our lives. And we wonder why, when we actually find a person that likes us and we like them and we want to get down the road to marriage, it's so difficult. We're not built to be with 100 people. We're not built to be with multiple people. So if you say to yourself, I'm not ready for a relationship, I'm not ready for marriage, then you definitely ain't ready for a relationship. Because in order to cultivate a relationship, you're going to have to get to know each other on a level that you may not know other people. Let's think about it this way. Half of the people that we call friends, we don't know very much about. We may know their name, we may know where they work at, we may know their family a little bit, but we don't know the ins and outs and how they function. We don't know intimate details about their life unless it's somebody that we are legitimately going out of our way to build a friendship with or to build a relationship with, build rapport with. We don't know this stuff. We know just enough to say that I know you. So if that's all you are looking for from the opposite sex, then you're not ready for a relationship. And marriage is not the answer. The answer is you need to do some more work on yourself. And I'm not talking about this self-help, this, all this other stuff, because here's what I'm here to say. If you out there sleeping with people and running the streets and making all these connections, then that ain't it either. If you're having children outside of wedlock, you can't sit there and say, oh, well, marriage ain't the answer. Then why are you having children outside of wedlock? Because remember, it's going to be harder. It's going to be a lot easier. My mistake. I backtrack, flip that. One that. It's going to be a lot easier to get out of a marriage than it is to get away from children. See, marriage as it is in and of itself, as seen in the States, is a legal contract, a union, set together by you and another person, making a verbal agreement that you are going to commit to each other, and then thus signing a paper that says, I'm going to stick to that verbal agreement. Then you can go to divorce court and say, hey, I no longer want to stick to that agreement. But once you replicate your DNA with somebody else, it's not that easy. You can't just say, oh, that ain't mine. As a matter of fact, it's impossible. You can move away and you can get away from that child, but that child is still a part of you. You can decide to not be a part of that person's life, but that child is still there, out there, and they're a part of you. So your DNA has been replicated with along with another person's. So you can't sit there and say that, oh, it's so no, it's not. It's not. So for those of you that would say, "Oh, marriage ain't it, that's not marriage ain't for everybody," then cool, I got you. Yeah, I agree. Marriage is not for everybody. Neither are relationships. Neither are children. Stay out of the dating market. Stay out of the pool of replicating your DNA until you are ready for marriage. Until you are ready for relationships. Because us playing this game of I'm not ready, but I want to find somebody to do life with, that ain't working. We are reproducing and putting on this earth people who are worse off than the people we got now. And we want to point our finger at this generation coming up, but we're the ones that bore them. And we're the ones that's raising them. I personally don't have any children, thank God. But I want to have children with my wife, somebody that I have committed to, somebody that I have grown a close knit bond to, that I am contractually um, liable for by the legal system. Not just some random girl that I think is a baddie. That is the most, or somebody I'm just getting to know. See, unlike a test drive with a car, where you test drive it, and the guy and the person that's in the car with you, he's gonna tell you to make a right, then make that other right, then make another right, then make another right, and that all those rights are gonna bring you back to the dealership. And if you decide not to buy the car, they're just gonna write down those that mileage and hope that it doesn't accumulate over a certain amount of miles before they have to sell it as a used vehicle. That's not the way it works in relationships and marriage. You don't get to test drive because the consequences are different. The only thing that is similar in that particular scenario is that after a while you gain mileage. That body gains mileage. That spirit gains mileage. That emotion, those emotions gain mileage. And the more mileage you get on that soul, and the more mileage you get on that spirit, and the more mileage you have on those emotions, the harder it is for you to maintain your relationship. So marriage is not the answer. Knowing that you are ready for marriage is the answer. Knowing that you want marriage is the answer. Knowing that and knowing the concept and the work that it's going to take in order to sustain a marriage is the answer. Knowing the reality versus the expectation is the answer. Not just marriage. Because it's too easy to go out there and get married. Just recently heard Jennifer Lopez has filed her divorce papers after being married to the love of her life, Ben Affleck, for only 2 years. This woman, by all metrics of looks is top tier, but she can't stay in a marriage to save her life. She's, to me, my own opinion, to me, she is no different than the girls out here dating. A matter of fact, I think it's worse because she's entering into agreements with a gentleman, and then once things get rough and things get hard, she changes her mind and breaks the agreement that she made with these particular people. And I'm not saying that those men didn't have any roles to play in the uh, uh, dissolution of their marriage. No, I'm not saying that at all. But I am saying that her track record ain't looking too good. I think the longest she's been married has been 5 years. She gets into these relationships super quick. Then next thing you know, she's married, and everybody's saying congratulations. Oh, I'm happy for you, and she's happy because she's got the idea and the fantasy in her head. And then when things get rocky, she's like, I'm done. This is why I'm saying marriage is not the answer. Marriage ain't the answer. Because if it was, the divorce rate wouldn't be so high. If it was, people wouldn't be uh, filing divorce under reconcilable differences as statistically as much as they do now. If in the court system there was no such thing as irreconcilable differences, you wouldn't see half of the divorces you see today. Because within the legal system, you have to prove with unrefutable evidence the reason why you want to uh, um, dissolve your marriage. The same way you have to prove in the court system whether a person is guilty or innocent in the court of law for a crime they committed. So marriage is not the answer, but neither is promiscuity. You can't sit there on one hand and say, marriage ain't the answer. You know, people need to discover what marriage is and how marriage works and all this other good stuff, and they need to find who they are. Yeah, okay, I can agree with you there. But if you're out there being promiscuous, how is that helping? If you are not learning from mentors and people who are married what marriage is and what it takes to be a husband or a wife, how is this time helping? How is your how is your single of singleness helping to equip you for the next phase in your life if all you're doing is out there running wild in the streets and then replicating your DNA with men or women who are not worth anything? And it may sound like I'm talking to the black community because I am a black man, but I'm not. I'm talking to every community. It just happens to be more pervasive amongst ours. It's highly visible amongst the black community, but all cultures and all races have this. They just don't tend to glorify it or push it to the forefront as much. So I'm gonna wrap this one up in saying this: what is the answer if marriage is not the answer? Hell, here it comes. You knew I was gonna say this. Number one is establishing a relationship with your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Now, as you guys know, I'm a Christian, so I am always going to preach salvation through Jesus Christ. He is the way, He is the truth, He is the light. No one comes to the Father except through Him. If you start developing that relationship, you can then begin to develop relationship with other people, including the opposite sex. Because now you at least know what it means to start cultivating a relationship in a genuine and healthy way. That would be number one. Two, I think it's important for you to know what marriage is, the concept behind it, and all the ramifications that go along with that. What the vows mean, what that means for you, and are you willing to accept that responsibility? And three, gaining the knowledge on how to do it properly. Meaning you need to talk to people who are married, get mentors, read books, educate yourself on that particular topic. It is so funny. We can educate ourselves on money, entrepreneurship, uh, statistical studies and data and analytics and all this other stuff that we think is so important. But when it comes to relationship, we want to go off of vibes and you know how we feel and emotions, and you would and men are probably saying, yeah, you talking to the ladies. No, I'm not just talking to the ladies, because as much as we like to say men, we are logical thinkers. Once we see a baddie, we fall into that too. We fall into that trap too. But it's not the emotions that come from our heart, it's the emotions that come from our head. And you know what head I'm talking about. It's not until after we get rid of that thing that is clouding our judgment, or we get past that thing that is clouding our judgment, do we start really reflecting on who that person is. So to men, I would say you need to work on your self-control. You got to be able to see the young woman that you potentially want to be with for more than just another body. Yeah, it's okay that you recognize her beauty and that you would love to be with her on that level. There ain't nothing wrong with that. I ain't here to tell you there's anything wrong with that. But you got to be able to look past that and say, is this somebody that I could see myself potentially committing to and being the mother of my children and our potential legacy? And that's all I really want to say. Anyways, guys, thank you for checking out the Standard 81 podcast. I appreciate you so much. Once again, if you haven't done it already, please hit that thumbs up button. I greatly appreciate that so much. And if you think this content is good, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You typically do these live streams on Monday and Wednesday, and like I said, I was doing Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, but my schedule has picked up uh, quite quite significantly since then. So if I have something special, I may do it on a Friday, but or a Saturday or a Sunday, one of those. Somewhere during the course of the weekend, I may do another stream if a topic comes to mind, or I have a special guest I would like to bring on, whatever the case may be. Um, as well, comment down below. Type second watch in the comments and let me know what you think about the comment, as well as share this with somebody you think needs it. All my links and how to get in touch with me are in the bio in the bio area of the YouTube section, and I will see you guys on the next one. Love to you all. Peace.